The wind swept through the dry town of Perdition Ridge, raising coils of dust that danced down the main road like phantoms. The sun beat down mercilessly, baking the land into cracked red clay, and the wooden buildings stood like weathered skeletons against the bright sky. It was a place where dreams came to die or claw their way out, depending on the soul. Bo McAllister rode into town with the slump of a man who'd seen too much death to care about the heat. His horse, Dusty, was covered in trail sweat and prairie dust. Bo tugged the brim of his hat low, his face shadowed beneath a tangled beard and eyes the color of storm clouds. He wasn't looking for trouble anymore, but trouble had a habit of finding him anyway. He dismounted in front of the Broken Spur Saloon, but just as he handed the reins to a stable boy, he heard it, the faint whimper of a woman crying. Not the usual drunk sorrow of the saloon girls. No, this was different. Fragile, raw. He followed the sound behind the old general store, where the frame of a half-rotted chicken coop leaned precariously against a collapsed shed. Inside, huddled on a pile of hay and old rags, was a woman. She looked no older than 25, maybe less, though life had carved its years deep into her face. Her eyes, wide and weary, were the color of twilight. Her dress was threadbare. Her skin was pale beneath smudges of dirt. "What the hell are you doing in there?" Bo asked, voice low but not unkind. The woman stiffened. "Ain't none of your business." "You look half-starved." She wasn't crying now. She was bracing herself. Bo sighed and rubbed his jaw. "I got a room upstairs at the inn. Hasn't been used in years, but it's clean. You're welcome to it." She looked up sharply. "I don't take charity." "This ain't charity. Call it repayment. For what, I don't rightly know. But I reckon I owe someone something, Dut." She studied him through narrowed eyes, then slowly rose from her nest in the straw. "What's your name?" "Bo McAllister." "I'm Claire Whitlock." Chapter 2. Upstairs. The room above the old inn was simple, a narrow bed, cracked wash basin, and a window that looked out toward the dry hills. Still, to Claire, it felt like the Ritz. She didn't ask questions, and Bo didn't offer answers. He left her with food from the saloon's kitchen, a worn woolen blanket, and the key to the room. That night, she slept like the dead. In the days that followed, a rhythm formed. Claire cleaned up the room, scrubbed the floor, and helped Miss Addie in the saloon's kitchen in exchange for meals. She didn't smile much, but she worked hard. Her ribs stopped showing after a week, and the bruises on her arms faded into shadows. Still, she never talked about where she came from. Not until one night when the storm rolled in. Thunder cracked like rifle fire over Perdition Ridge. Claire stood on the inn's porch, her arms crossed, watching the sky split open. Bo joined her, his pipe between his lips. "I was married," she said quietly, staring into the dark. 3 years. He hit me the first night." Bo said nothing. Didn't matter to anyone. Sheriff said I must have provoked him. Said a woman ought to keep her mouth shut and her man happy. Bo turned slowly to her. "What happened to him?" She didn't look away. "He drank himself into a rage one night. Started choking me. I got to the knife drawer before he finished it." Bo nodded once. "Good." Claire blinked at him. "You ain't gonna judge me." "I figure a man who raises his hand to a woman forfeits his right to be mourned." Lightning lit the sky, and for the first time, Claire smiled. Chapter 3. Fire and Ash. It wasn't long before the pass came hunting. 3 riders showed up on a blistering afternoon, dust-caked and cruel-eyed. They rode with the kind of swagger only bullies or bounty hunters carried. Bo watched from the saloon window as they dismounted. One of them, a wiry man with a scar like a rope burned down his cheek, stepped inside. "We're looking for a woman," he said, tossing a worn poster on the bar. Claire's face stared back in rough charcoal sketch. "Wanted for murder." Bo stepped forward. "Ain't seen her." The man grinned without mirth. I think you're lying, Cowboy. Bo's fingers twitched toward his holster. I think you should ride on. Scarface stared at him. That a threat? No, that's a warning. Later that night, Bo told Claire what happened. Her face went pale, her body stiff. They were his brothers, she whispered. They think I shamed the family. You did what you had to do. They won't stop. Bo nodded. Neither will I. Chapter 4, Blood and Redemption. The bounty hunters returned the next day, and they weren't interested in talk. It happened just before dusk. Claire was fetching water from the pump when the first shot rang out. She dropped to the ground, crawling behind a trough. One of the riders was already bearing down on her, pistol drawn. Then came Bo. He moved like lightning, his coat drawn in a blink. The first rider went down hard, blood blossoming on his chest. The second man fired back from the stable door, hitting Bo in the shoulder. Claire screamed. Bo fell, rolled, and fired again, his shot catching the man in the gut. He collapsed, groaning. Scarface tried to run. Claire picked up Bo's dropped revolver and fired. The bullet hit Scarface square in the leg. He howled, falling into the dirt. Bo, blood seeping from his shoulder, limped toward the last man and stared him down. You come back again, Bo growled, and I won't let her shoot to wound. Chapter 5. Home. Bo recovered slowly, and Claire never left his side. She cooked for him, read to him, even learned how to stitch a wound tighter than a banker's fist. In the quiet moments, they talked. Bo told her about the war, about losing his brother to a bushwhacker's ambush, about drifting from one town to another trying to forget. Claire told him about the prairie bird she loved as a child, how she used to dream of owning a little schoolhouse one day. One evening, weeks after the shootout, Bo sat on the porch as Claire brought out 2 mugs of hot coffee. I ain't much, Bo said, looking down at his scarred hands. But I got a patch of land 2 miles from here. Ain't much either. Just a cabin and some wild horses. Claire sat beside him. Sounds perfect. I could use help taming those horses. Might even build a schoolhouse if I had someone to teach. Claire smiled, tears in her eyes. I've always wanted a room with a view. Bo turned to her, gentle and sure. Then you can have the room upstairs. For good. She laughed, the sound full and free. Epilogue. The prairie blooms. 2 years later, Perdition Ridge had changed. The saloon was quieter, the inn freshly painted, and a small white schoolhouse stood proudly at the edge of town. Claire McAllister taught 8 children every day beneath the wild blue sky. Her hair had grown long, her smile quick and warm. She still bore the scars, but now they were part of her strength. Bo worked the land, his limp a reminder of the day he fought for something worth keeping. At night, they sat on the porch of their little home, hand in hand, the wind whispering across the open plains. In a town once filled with ghosts, love had taken root, and it bloomed,